The sky was orange above the alien city of Velkara. Twin suns slowly sank behind tall crystal towers. Jack, a human man in his late 30s, walked through the busy market, his eyes scanning everything. He wore a black jacket, military boots, and a small comm device in his ear. He didn't come here to shop. He was on a mission to protect a diplomat from Earth. But today, the diplomat had gone inside a council hall, and Jack had a short break. He stood near a food stall, watching. Strange alien fruits bubble and hiss in heat. He didn't trust the food, but the smells were strong. Aliens of all kinds passed by. Some with wings, some with scales, and some glowing faintly in the fading sunlight. Jack's eyes stopped on a young alien girl. She was different. Her skin was pale blue, her silver-white hair fell past her shoulders, and her eyes were bright green, glowing softly. She wore a dark cloak and walked quickly, looking over her shoulder. Something about her didn't feel right. She looked scared. Jack turned his head, following her with his eyes. Then, crack. A loud sound tore the air. The crowd screamed. In a flash, Jack saw a red laser beam slicing through the air, heading straight for the alien girl. Without thinking, Jack ran. He slammed into her from the side, pushing her to the ground. His back burned. Pain exploded through his shoulder. He gritted his teeth. Another shot. Crack. The ground beside them shattered. "Move!" Jack shouted, grabbing her hand. The girl's eyes were wide with shock. She didn't know who he was, but she let him pull her. They ran between the stalls as more shots followed. Jack dragged her into a narrow alley between two buildings. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard, blood soaking his jacket. "You okay?" he asked. She stared at him. You saved me." Jack nodded. "Sniper. Top building. Maybe two of them." "Why?" she asked. "You don't know me." Jack smirked. "Didn't have time to ask your name." She looked at the wound. "You're hurt." "Yeah. Felt that." He leaned his head back, dizzy. More shouting echoed from the market. Security drones flew overhead. "We can't stay here," she whispered. "They'll find us." "Who's they?" he asked, breathing heavy. She hesitated. "People who want me dead. Government soldiers." Jack frowned. "Why?" "I'll tell you later. But if they catch me, they won't let you live either." Jack looked into her glowing eyes. "Then we run." He stood up, his legs shaking. "You know this place better than I do. Lead the way." She nodded, pulling her cloak tight and guiding him through narrow back streets. They passed behind shops, down dark alleys, and through tight tunnels that smelled like metal and oil. Jack's vision blurred. His wound was bleeding badly. Finally, she stopped in front of a metal door hidden behind trash bins. "Here," she whispered. They entered a small room. Inside were old furniture, metal crates, and a dirty bed. It looked like a secret hideout. Jack dropped to the floor, groaning. The alien girl locked the door and knelt beside him. "I need to treat this," she said, reaching for a med kit. "You always carry that around?" he asked, trying to joke. "Always running," she replied softly. She cut away his jacket and cleaned the wound. Her touch was gentle but fast. She wrapped his shoulder and gave him a small injection. He winced. "That burn means it's working, right?" She smiled slightly. "Yes." Jack looked at her again. She was young, maybe in her early 20s, if she were human. Her face had soft features but sharp eyes. She moved with speed and purpose. "I'm Jack," he finally said. She paused. "Lyra." Jack nodded. "Nice to meet you, Lyra." Even if it was dramatic, she looked away. "You didn't have to help me." "I did," he said. "Sniper rifles don't care who you are." Lyra sat beside him. Her hands trembled slightly. "You're not like others," she said. "Other humans?" "Other anyone." Silence filled the room for a moment. Jack could still hear distant alarms. He asked, "So, who wants you dead?" Lyra looked down. Because of what I am. Jack raised an eyebrow. And what's that? She didn't answer. Instead, she stood and looked out the small window. You saved my life, Jack. I owe you now. Jack tried to smile despite the pain. You don't owe me anything, just stay alive. Lyra turned back to him, a serious look in her eyes. No. I owe you more than you know. And in that quiet moment, Jack had no idea just how far that promise would go. The small hideout trembled as a patrol ship flew overhead. Red lights flashed through the tiny window. Lyra held her breath and pressed her body against the wall, listening for boots or blasters. But the ship moved on. Jack lay on the old bed, unconscious again. His face was pale and sweat ran down his forehead. The med patch had stopped most of the bleeding, but he was still weak. Lyra stared at him, her hands clenched. She didn't understand this human. He didn't know her. He didn't owe her anything. But he had taken a sniper bullet. For her. Aliens didn't do that. Not even for their own kind. Not anymore. She slowly knelt beside him, brushing a wet cloth across his forehead. His lips moved, whispering something she didn't catch. A memory came back. She was 5 cycles old. Her mother had been running through the forest, holding her tight while soldiers chased them. Her mother had whispered, "Hide your truth, Lyra. Never trust anyone, especially not humans." But this human had saved her without a second thought. She looked down at Jack again. His arm moved, his eyes opened slightly. "Lyra," he said hoarsely. "You're awake," she whispered. "You need rest." Jack blinked. "Still alive?" "Barely," she said. "You're lucky." Jack tried to sit up but groaned and fell back. "Where are we?" "An old smuggler's room. I used it before. No one knows it's here." Jack smiled weakly. "Smart girl." Lyra's face turned serious. "You shouldn't have saved me." Jack looked at her. "Would you rather be dead?" She hesitated. "That's not the point." Jack coughed. "Then what is the point?" Lyra looked away. "Saving me has made you a target now." Jack let out a dry laugh. "Story of my life." There was silence again. Then she spoke. "I need to tell you something, but you have to promise you won't freak out." Jack raised an eyebrow. "I got shot for you. Remember, I think I earned one secret." She nodded slowly. "My name is Lyra Zell. I'm not just any girl. I'm the daughter of the rebel leader. The government wants me dead because my blood holds something they fear." Jack narrowed his eyes. "Like what?" "A cure," she said softly. "My genes carry a mutation that could stop the genetic disease killing my people. But the High Council fears it will weaken their control." Jack sat up slightly, ignoring the pain. "So they'd rather destroy hope than lose power?" She nodded. "Now you see why they'll never stop hunting me. And why they'll hunt you too, for helping me." Jack didn't flinch. "Good. Thing I never liked being told what to do." Lyra blinked. "Why are you like this? You're not afraid?" "I've seen war. I've seen friends die for nothing. Saving you? That meant something." She turned away, hiding her face. Then she said something he didn't expect. "I've never owed anyone before, but I owe you now, and I keep my debts." Jack tried to make a joke. "How about you start with food?" But Lyra didn't laugh. Instead, she looked back at him, serious. "You gave me your body to shield me. I'll give you my life to protect yours." Before he could respond, a sharp beep came from her wrist device. She checked it. Her face turned pale. "They've found our trail. We have 10 minutes. Jack grabbed the wall and forced himself to stand. "Then what are we waiting for?" he said, voice tight with pain. "Let's disappear." Lyra helped him put on his jacket. As they reached the door, Jack turned to her. "You really gonna follow me now?" She gave him a soft smile. "No, you follow me. This time, I lead." And together, they vanished into the dark alleys once more, hunted by an empire, but not alone anymore. Smoke curled through the back streets of Velcara as patrol drones scanned. The skies with red beams. Loudspeaker voices shouted warnings. Attention! Target is a blue-skinned female fugitive traveling with a wounded human male. Dangerous. Shoot on sight. Lyra tightened her grip on Jack's arm as she led him through a sewer tunnel. The water beneath their boots splashed with every step. Jack limped beside her, sweat rolling down his forehead, but he didn't complain. This way, she whispered. Jack looked up, his voice low. You sure we're not walking into a trap? I built this tunnel, Lyra said, when I was 13, for moments like this. Jack smirked through the pain. Remind me never to play hide-and-seek with you. Suddenly, a loud thump echoed through the tunnel behind them, then another, the sound of metal claws scraping on stone. They released hunter units, she said sharply. Spider drones, they can smell wounds. Fantastic, Jack muttered. My blood's a GPS now. They picked up speed. Jack staggered. Lyra caught him, helped him up. His body was weak, but his spirit hadn't cracked. The tunnel opened into an abandoned warehouse near the spaceport. Broken crates and old engines lay scattered around. Light streamed through holes in the roof. Lyra led Jack behind a massive rusted cargo box. We have a few minutes, she said. I need to find transport. Off this planet. Jack looked around. That's not something we can just grab. Lyra tapped a hidden panel in the crate. A small door opened, revealing a sleek black bike with boosters. Jack whistled. You're full of surprises. She turned. Can you ride? I can hold on, he said. They pushed the bike out, activated its silent engine, and sped into the night, weaving through alleys and shattered buildings, but they didn't go unnoticed. Above them, a sniper drone locked on their heat signal. It fired. Boom. The shockwave knocked the bike sideways. Jack and Lyra crashed into the dirt. Jack groaned. Tell me we landed close to a hospital. Lyra grabbed him and rolled behind a wall as more shots came. The drone swooped down, scanning. Lyra pulled out a strange device from her cloak, a glowing silver cube. What's that? Jack asked, blinking dust from his eyes. A gift from my mother, she said. It can shut down anything, once. She threw it. The cube hovered, blinked, and then burst with a wave of energy. The sniper drone froze mid-air, then fell, smoking. Jack looked at her in amazement. You're not just a girl on the run. Lyra looked serious. I'm a key, a cure, a target. But you're the first person who didn't run from me. You ran towards me. He touched his bleeding shoulder. And look where that got me. She smiled slightly. They climbed onto the half-broken bike. It groaned but still worked. I know a pilot, she said. He owes me. As they rode through the metal graveyards of the city, Lyra suddenly asked, Jack, why did you really save me? You could have just ducked. Jack was silent for a moment. Then he said, because I saw someone alone, scared, and I knew what that felt like. Lyra stared ahead, her voice soft. Then I promise, you'll never be alone again. And as they raced toward the stars, chased by governments and ghosts, something new began to form between them. More than survival, more than duty. Something unspoken. But in the galaxy's deadliest game of hide-and-seek, they'd need more than promises to survive. They'd need each other. The stars above the planet flickered as Lyra and Jack sat inside an old cargo ship, hidden behind piles of smuggled goods and broken tech. The pilot, a crusty insectoid named Grun, had taken them off-world without asking questions. He owed Lyra. That was enough. Now they drifted in a quiet orbit, engines off, running cold to avoid being tracked. Jack leaned against a crate, his wound freshly bandaged again. Lyra sat across from him, hugging her knees, her cloak wrapped tightly around her shoulders. You look better, she said quietly. Jack shrugged. Still hurts. But at least I'm not bleeding on everything anymore. He gave a small smile, but she didn't return it. Her face looked distant. You've been quiet since we left, Jack said. Something on your mind? Lyra hesitated. Then she stood and walked to a small hatch window. She stared into space. My mother was executed when I was 10, she said. Jack sat up straighter. Executed? Lyra nodded. She was the last real leader of the resistance. They called her a traitor, said she was using illegal science, but really, she was trying to save lives. Jack waited, letting her speak. She passed me something before they took her. A data crystal. It had a cure. A real one. It can stop the disease that's killing thousands of my people every day. She wanted me to keep it safe, hidden, inside me. Jack frowned. Inside? Lyra touched the base of her neck. The cure is coded into my DNA. That's why I can't be captured. They'll rip it out of me. Jack stood and moved toward her. You've been carrying that weight alone this whole time? She nodded. And now, because you helped me, you're in the middle of it. Jack didn't flinch. Maybe that's exactly where I'm supposed to be. Lyra turned to him, tears shining in her glowing green eyes. You don't understand, I'm not just hunted. I'm cursed. Everyone who helps me either dies or disappears. I'm still here, Jack said firmly. She looked away, her voice trembling. Not for long. If you stay. Silence filled the ship for a long moment. Only the soft hum of life support systems broke it. Then Jack said something soft. Tell me the rest. Lyra blinked. What do you mean? I want to know all of it. Not just the mission. You. The girl behind the title. Behind the fear. Lyra hesitated. No one had ever asked that. She sat down beside him slowly. I like spicy food, she said quietly, even though it makes me sneeze. I always read by candlelight even though I can read faster on a screen, and I sing when I'm scared, but only when no one's listening. Jack smiled. Now we're getting somewhere. She smiled back just a little. Then a beep echoed through the room, a warning. The ship's sensors had picked up something. Grunn's raspy voice came over the speaker. We got a tail. Looks like an Imperial tracker ship, fast, armed, and coming in hot. Jack stood. They followed us? Lyra's smile disappeared. No, they followed me. She rushed to the cockpit while Jack grabbed a weapon from a hidden compartment. It was old, but functional. Grunn growled. We can't outrun them unless we drop cargo weight. Lyra paused. I know what you're saying. Jack looked between them. What's he saying? Grunn turned to Jack. He means drop me, Jack said. No, Lyra snapped. We're not doing that. Grunn looked at her. He's the only non-essential on board. I'll stall, but we're not doing that, she shouted. Jack stepped forward, hand on her arm. Lyra, if it's the only way— No, she said again, voice breaking. I've lost too many people already. I won't lose you. The ship shook as weapons fired from far behind. They had minutes, maybe less. Lyra turned to the console, punching in override codes. What are you doing? Jack asked. Changing. Course, I'm going to the rebel fleet. They'll protect us. Jack's eyes widened. You trust them? She paused. I trust them more than I trust fate. Jack looked at her with quiet awe. He came to save her once, but now she was fighting to save him. And for the first time, they weren't just running. They were running toward something, together. The stolen cargo ship shook as it pushed past the upper atmosphere. Flames licked the windows as the engines screamed against gravity. Jack gripped the seat beside him, trying to ignore the burning pain in his shoulder. Lyra sat at the controls, her hands moving quickly. Her eyes were locked on the scanner screen. 1 minute to breach, she said. Jack looked through the front window. The stars were finally starting to appear, but before he could relax, the warning lights turned red. Beep, beep, beep. Contact, Lyra shouted. We have a ship in our path. No, 2 ships. Grunn's scratchy voice came over the speaker. Imperial, hunters. They blocked the route. Can we turn back? Jack asked. Lyra shook her head. If we do, we fall into the atmosphere. We'll burn up before they shoot us. Great choices, Jack muttered. Death by fire or death by blaster. Lyra stood, pulled open a locker, and handed Jack a blaster pistol. You'll need this, she said. He stared at the weapon. This wasn't supposed to be a war. For them, she replied, everything is war. The ship rocked again. One of the hunter ships fired a warning shot across their nose. The engines roared louder. They're hailing us, Grun said. Don't answer, Lyra replied. If we respond, they'll lock missiles. Jack blinked. They haven't already? They want me alive, Lyra said bitterly. And maybe they want to watch you die. Jack stared at her. You're too calm for this. Lyra looked at him. Because I already made peace with death. But I haven't, Jack said. Not yours. The moment between them was heavy. Then the ship jerked violently. Sparks flew from a side panel. Shields are failing, Grun yelled. Lyra ran back to the controls and did something Jack didn't understand. She shut off the main power. Everything went dark. Jack panicked. What are you doing? They can't target us if they can't see us, she whispered. We fall dead in space and pray they pass by. Outside, the stars blinked. The enemy ships drifted closer. For a full minute, nothing moved. No sound. No lights. Then, a beam of red scanned over their ship. Jack held his breath. Lyra didn't move. Neither did Grun. The red light disappeared. The hunters drifted by, and then, gone. Lyra slowly powered up the ship again, quietly as possible. Engines hummed back to life. Jack let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Remind me never to argue with you in space. Lyra grinned. Noted. They burst forward, the stars now wide open. We'll reach the rebel fleet in 6 hours, Lyra said. We'll be safe there. Jack leaned back, exhausted. Safe sounds like a lie. Lyra looked at him, eyes soft. Then let me give you something true. She reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were cold, but the gesture was warm. I don't know what's waiting out there, she said, but I want you beside me when we face it. Jack stared at her, stunned. You mean that? She nodded. You gave me hope, Jack. Now let me give you purpose. They sat together in silence as stars passed by the windows, their hands still joined. Behind them, the Empire hunted in silence. But ahead, something more waited. Maybe freedom, maybe war, maybe something neither of them had ever known. But they were no longer alone. The rebel fleet hung in the darkness like silent steel giants orbiting a hidden moon. Dozens of ships, large, scarred, and full of firepower, slowly rotated in space. Each one had weapons ready, shields raised, and crews on alert. Lyra's ship approached slowly under clearance. This is Lyra Zell requesting safe dock, she said into the comms. A deep voice replied, confirmed, proceed to Bay 12. But you better have proof you're who you say you are. Jack chuckled from behind her. Friendly bunch. They've had spies before, Lyra said. Trust is rare here. The ship docked with a soft clang. Airlock opened. Cold metallic air swept in. Lyra stepped out first. Jack followed, slower due to his healing shoulder. A group of rebel guards met them with scanners and weapons. You brought a human? One said sharply. He saved my life, Lyra replied without blinking. Twice. The guards stared at Jack with suspicion, but they let him pass. Barely. Inside the medical bay, scientists examined Lyra's blood. Their expressions changed the moment the results came in. One of them, a tall woman with red eyes, rushed out waving a data pad. This is it, she cried. The real thing, her DNA. It matches the lost pattern. The room filled with cheers and voices. Jack stepped back, watching the crowd form around Lyra. He felt something stir in his chest, a strange mix of pride and distance. They needed her. They praised her, but she didn't look happy. Later, in a quiet hallway, she found him standing alone by a window, staring out at the stars. "You disappeared," she said. "Didn't want to steal your moment," he replied. She moved beside him. "I don't want the moment, I want truth." He looked at her. "Truth?" She stepped closer. "You risked your life for me. You bled for me. You didn't even know who I was." "Why?" Jack sighed. "Because I saw someone worth saving." Lyra's eyes shimmered. "No one ever said that to me." She gently took his hand. "Jack, you're the only thing in this galaxy that ever felt real." He turned to her slowly. "You know, back on Earth I used to believe in heroes. Then war took that away." Lyra leaned forward, her voice a whisper. "Then let me give it back." She kissed him. Soft, unsure, but full of feeling. Jack didn't move for a moment. Then he kissed her back, gently like he was afraid she'd vanish. When they pulled apart, she touched his cheek. "You didn't just save my life. You gave it meaning." A sudden alert echoed through the base. Red lights flashed. Lyra turned, frowning. "What now?" A voice came through the speakers. "Enemy ships just entered the system. The Empire has found us." Jack stood tall. "Looks like your cure's not the only thing they came for." She gripped his hand tighter. "Then we fight together." The room shook with distant explosions, and the girl who once only ran now stood beside a human, ready to face the storm. Red sirens flashed across the rebel fleet as Imperial warships entered orbit. Lyra and Jack stood in the command center surrounded by rebels preparing for what felt like their last stand. "They brought a flagship," the commander said. "They want to make an example of us." "They came for the cure," someone else muttered. "They know she's here." Jack turned to Lyra. Her face was calm, but her eyes were glowing with something more than fear, determination. "We can't run," she said. "If we run, the cure dies with us." Jack nodded. "Then we make our stand here." The commander stepped forward. "We need someone to get the cure out, off the base and beyond their reach." Everyone looked at Lyra, but she shook her head. "Not me. I stay and fight." Jack frowned. "Then who takes it?" Lyra stepped closer to Jack and held out a small glowing vial. "You." He stared at it. "Me?" "You're the only one I trust," she said. "You got me through fire, betrayal, pain, and still stood by me. If anyone can survive out there, it's you." Jack looked at the cure, then at her. "I'm not leaving you." "You're not," she said, "because I'm coming too." They loaded the cure into a sealed container and made their way to the hangar. Imperial dropships were already attacking the fleet. Explosions shook the floor. Fighters roared across the hangar roof. They ran for an old scout ship, small, fast, and nearly forgotten. As they launched, enemy fire chased them into space. "Strap in," Jack shouted. Lyra grabbed the controls beside him. "Punching jump. In 3, 2, 1. Flash." They vanished into hyperspace. Behind them, the rebel fleet fought with everything they had. A few ships fell, but the Empire didn't get what they came for. In a safe zone far from the battle, Jack and Lyra landed on a quiet moon. Green fields stretched wide. A rebel lab stood hidden underground. Scientists came running. "You brought it?" one asked. Jack handed over the vial. "Safe and sound." Lyra nodded. "Start preparing the dose. My people are waiting." Days passed. The cure worked. Slowly, across the galaxy, alien children stopped dying. Families cried in joy. And the rebel message spread. Hope lives. But the galaxy didn't just talk about the cure. They talked about the human who gave his blood to protect the girl who carried it. The one who stood when others ran. The one who loved an alien girl, not for her title, but for who she was inside. In time, Jack and Lyra returned to the stars, not as fugitives, but as symbols. Together they built something new, a human-alien alliance that helped worlds in need. One mission at a time, and one night under a quiet sky, Jack looked at Lyra beside him. She rested her head on his shoulder. "You saved me twice," she whispered. Jack smiled. "You gave me a reason to live again." She looked into his eyes. "You're not just my protector, Jack, you're my home." And with her hand in his, the man who once stood alone finally found where he belonged.